Today I'm here with one of the biggest names in senior pro pickleball and pickleball in general, Rick Witsken. Rick's success on the tour, along with his presence off the court, has built him into an icon. From Indiana, Rick is the seventh of eight siblings. He won 2 tennis state championships and then went on to become a 2-time All-American in Alabama, where he held the spot of #1 in the country in doubles. He then went on to the ATP Pro Tour and was ranked in both singles and doubles, and then began a career teaching tennis alongside his brother. But of course, at some point, he eventually found the great sport of pickleball. He started playing pro tournaments in 2014 and has since won 4 gold medals at the US Open and is currently ranked the #1 senior pro in mixed doubles, as well as holding a spot in the top 4 spots in singles and doubles. Clearly, Rick is no stranger to success or to pickleball. Thanks so much for coming on.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. And I really, really appreciate your show and what you do for pickleball. And I'm here to share the love and answer whatever questions you have. So shoot, baby, I'm ready for it all.
All right, I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready to go. Okay. So clearly you've done a lot within the racket sports world over the course of your life so far, from playing tennis to teaching tennis, playing pickleball, teaching pickleball. Now you're doing a lot more on the pickleball side, even off the court. So I'm curious, what's one thing you think you're the best at? And then the one thing that you love doing the most?
Boy, that's a really, really great question. I think I'm good at sales. I'm currently a partner with 3 other people in the NPL, and they told me that I'm good at sales. I'm not trying to sell. I think I'm very passionate, energetic. You probably see that on the court. So I think really just being myself, and God gave me some energies that maybe other people don't have. So I appreciate the God-given energies. What was the second question?
Second, so the first was what are you best at? And then the other was what do you love doing the most?
Yeah. So, and then, as far as a player, I think using my wingspan to the best of my abilities is probably what I'm best at, like on the court. I can hit the ball left-handed. I can hit a left-handed overhead. I can shift, and I'm not super, super fast because I'm 6'3.5" and 225 pounds and 51 years old. But I think, when I talk to my singles opponents, especially, they're like, man, I can't get a passing shot by you. And I think it obviously helps, with the reach over the kitchen. So I think my wingspan and my ability to use my non-dominant hand is something that really is one of my biggest assets.
Absolutely. And I really like the you brought up sales before. What came to my mind, and you had said, oh, I don't think I'm that good at sales. I just am naturally good at it. I just am passionate about it. Is a great product sells itself. And so if you're, whether it's sales or whether it's anything else you're doing in life, if you're passionate about it, the value and the expertise will just naturally show, just because of how much you love it and how involved, and interested you are in it. So,
what's crazy, Aaron, is that, I just remembered a conversation I had in Hilton Head with Major League Pickleball CEO Brian Levine. And Brian said, Rick, like, how come you've had such a good year in singles? And I said, Brian, it's really desire. There's plenty of times last year where I was playing the 3rd event singles, exhausted from, the doubles and the mix the 2 days before. And I just knew that I had it in me in singles, but I didn't quite show it. And a lot of times I dropped out of tournaments. But this year, like, I wanted singles. I knew, I even remember talking to Matthias and Paul, like, hey guys, like, I'm here to show. I know I'm top 4, and luckily I beat both those guys, but they beat me more than I've beaten them for sure. But I think the desire is super important, and it's why I respect the Annalise and Ben Johns and J Dubs so much, because even though they're young and they've got the fitness component and youth over me, I know what it's like to play all 3 events and to go deep in the field every day. And it is such a mental grind as much as it is physical. So I'm in all of those players big time.
absolutely. So, I want to hear a little bit about your background, how you got into pickleball, because, a lot of pickleball players played some tennis. They played in high school, they played a little bit in college. You played tennis. You were a serious player. You were champion in high school, champion in college. You were on the pro tour. So can you kind of quickly walk us through your tennis background and then how that then bled into pickleball?
Sure. So as a junior tennis player in the 12s and 14s, I just had the great fortune of being the seventh out of kids, like you said, and watching my mentor, role model, idol, god of tennis, Todd Witsken, be #1 in the country. I was 7 years younger than him, but still, when I'm 8 years old and he's like #1 in the 16s and 18s, and he's getting to the finals of Kalamazoo. Him and Jimmy Arias were just killing it. And I go to Kalamazoo and get the blueberries and cream and watch his matches and just think, oh my gosh, everybody looks up to my brother. He's phenomenal. It's like poetry in motion, and he's really humble, and he's a really good guy. So I think that really drew my passion into tennis, was watching him. I also had 3 other siblings, by the way, that played college tennis and had Division I scholarships. So it was in the blood. But going to the University of Alabama was something that was really neat for me. But I didn't know one person at University of Alabama. I'm from just a good old Midwestern boy, and I was super close to going to Notre Dame on a full ride. But my brother Todd, he knew I wanted to play pro tennis. He's like, Rick, if you're going to play pro tennis, you can't be going to a cold weather school. So Alabama, was between them and Florida and Georgia, and I chose Alabama for the full scholarship for 4 years, and I don't regret that. I had amazing doubles partners, Ellis Ferreira, who went on to win Grand Slam, and Juan Carlos Bianchi from Venezuela. We were both ranked #1 in the country throughout portions of the season. So played singles, and being in the SEC is unbelievable, right? I mean, their team is so incredible, and I don't know if this is a decent segue, but my brother-in-law is the University of Florida men's tennis coach right now, and his son Ben Shelton is just killing it.
Yeah, we'll talk about him later. Yeah, and by the way, Alabama, pretty fun school. I haven't been myself, but I know there's quite a bit of partying. It's also known for its partying as well as its academics. Did you have some fun there as well, or were you strictly tennis?
I don't know if this surprised people or not, but I was actually pretty much a goody two shoes in college, and I wasn't in fraternity. My coach would not let me be in fraternity, and it's very Greek there. Yes, it's a great party school, but I would strongly encourage somebody that goes to Alabama, if they wanted to get to that side of things, to be more Greek related. I was friends with a couple of the swimmers, and most of the guys on my team were from different countries, and they're good friends but not great friends. But I met the swimmers and divers that I was fairly close to. But honestly, no, I didn't party a lot in college. I was just kind of focused on my goal, and typically in a relationship that I wanted to stay away from the bad things.
Right, I hear you. So then, all right, so where's the evolution? How does college going into trying to play pro tennis fall into then becoming a pickleball player?
Great question. I mean, with my success in doubles, I felt like, okay, I'm on my way to being top 100 in the world in men's doubles. And literally, I can remember talking to my doubles partner. He and I had just won a prize money event in Columbus, Ohio, and we'd beaten like 2 or 3 guys in the top 100 in doubles, and Win Criswell's his name. And I just remember us talking about, hey, do we go get like jobs in the industry, or do we go out on the pro tour? And everything at that time, back in, it was like 1993, the doubles draws were being minimized, and they were allowing singles players to use their rankings to get into doubles. So the tea leaves were basically saying, this is not a good time for like a double specialist. And I didn't think I'd ever be top 100 in the world in singles. So, and plus my brother Todd had already been off the tour, and he offered me an incredible job at a very large tennis facility complex called the Indianapolis Tennis Center. It doesn't exist anymore, but when it did exist, it hosted a huge professional tennis tournament where Sampras and Agassi and all those guys were playing. So tough decision, but at 23, 400 in the world, after only having played a few tournaments, I decided not to play on the pro tour and go to work for my role model, brother, idol.
Makes sense. I mean, it's a good move. I understand it, and I'm sure part of the heart always might have said what could have happened, but at the same time, it was a smart move. I mean, I'm sure you still continued playing. You still, found love, from the game. You were able to coach and help others, go through the same process you did. And probably at that point you said, all right, I'll probably never be a pro athlete again. It's okay. I had a good run, and look where we are now. So where did football find its way into your life?
Absolutely. And I did play some prize money events, smaller events and whatnot. And, I don't know if you want to go into this now, but obviously my brother didn't live much longer than that. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because I got to spend the last couple of years of his life, with him more than anybody else because we were working together.
That's yeah. I've lost a family member too, and that family member, I spent a lot of time with them the couple of years before, having no idea they were even sick. And so I look back and said, wow, it was such a blessing that I ended up going to college so close to my uncle who lived I went to University of Maryland. Uncle lived in Bethesda at Maryland, and I just was going back and forth. So blessings in disguise. And, I'm sorry about your brother, but it seems at least you had a good, really great relationship with him, up until. So.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
So, all right. So where does Rick meet pickleball? How does that start?
Yeah. So, I was definitely in the tennis for a good 20 years, coaching college team when I was 23 years old, running a country club for 7 years, starting my business when Todd died in 98. I started Team Witsken tennis and having a bunch of students that not only just great junior tennis players, but also had adults, men and women, had a lot of students that I was running in a facility. And then Zionsville, Indiana, where I live, kind of locked in with a great tennis guy, and we started running big programs out of their facilities in the summer. That being said, pickleball came into my world probably around 2010, and I just sniffed it in singles. I didn't play doubles or mixed initially. I played singles. I'm like, whoa, I kind of like this game. I'm 40 and it's a little easier on the body and than tennis, that is, and platform tennis. So I started liking that. And then I knew there wasn't a ton of pro players out there. So even though I was in my 40s, I remember playing so many times Tyson McGuffin and Kyle Yates and Weinbach, and those characters were there for sure. I remember when I saw Ben for the first time in Peachtree in Atlanta, and I remember, man, this kid's really talented and he's going to be really good. But it was really fun to be older, and guys like Frank Davis, who I've been friends with forever, he's like, man, he's like, people look up to you because of your age and how you're playing. And so just, it's what pickleball does to everybody, cultivated relationships that are long-term and now 12, 13 years old. And I just feel so blessed to have launched into this game. And trust me, Aaron, you're a tennis player too. I've taken so many bullets from tennis players about my affinity for the game. Not so much lately because they see all the big names and they know everybody's getting into it and on the TV channels and whatnot. But boy, 7, 8, 9 years. Heck, I helped build a club that they shot me down every board meeting about how I could be so into pickleball when we built a tennis club. I'm like, this is not just tennis club. It's a tennis and pickleball.
Right.
They didn't like that. So I'm proud of what strength I had to support our sport way back at the very early stages, because I knew what it would be. And I think that people that had any kind of negativity back then are looking now. Yeah. It feels pretty good. Yeah. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I still take heat from some people in my tennis world, for playing pickleball, but that's starting to slowly dwindle. I can't imagine what it was like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago. So a lot of respect for you and everybody else who kind of, held that in and kept going with it. But I think even for the people now that are doubting it, there's going to be less and less doubters. And when pickleball gets to the point where it's a top 1 or 2 most participated sport in the country, which I really do believe it'll get, nobody could look down on it. I think will be a point where it's just it's a household name, which it's already getting to that point.
Yeah, amen. And I'm just proud of everybody that sticks together and in a positive way. I mean, obviously we've seen the different signs about pickleball players, stay out, keep your noise, blah, blah, blah. I just think that, staying above the fray and the minutia of negativity, staying above that. There's so many good people in the pickleball world that we've met and that have fought the same battle. I'm not a hero by any means. You're right. I kind of got into it really early, but players still today, fight that battle. And I think as long as we just stay positive and above board, and the sport's just going to keep taking us to never land we never saw coming. And, it's saving lives and people are falling in love with it. And it's becoming such it's the healthiest addiction I've ever seen in my whole life.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even people that are addicted to reading, pickleball is definitely healthier. Your
Yeah.
active relationships. So I want to talk a little bit about senior pro pickleball. You are a senior pro pickleball player, which, somebody on the street might hear senior pro and they might think of something that it's not. It is 50 plus. This is not 60 plus, 70 plus. This is 50 plus. You have super high level players that will still destroy, pretty much 99+% of the population. So, regular pro, senior pro, this is still pro pickleball. But I want to talk about your view on the distinction between play styles. And let's just, for the purpose of this interview right now, talk about the men's side. What do you see as the main differences in style of play versus regular pro and then senior pro? And if you want to break that up between doubles and then singles.
That's a really good question. And I really wasn't paying attention to the Open Pros a lot at the beginning of the year, but just happenstance, it seemed like they were kind of bottlenecked where there weren't enough courts. And I started watching more Pro Open matches towards the middle and the end of the year because we were really stuck at sites for a long time. And what else is there to do? And, and I really gained even more appreciation for the Open Pros. And I'll start with singles first because I remember seeing Federico Stocksrud in singles in Florida. And I'm like, man, this guy, nobody had heard of him. Like, and this is like one thing you asked earlier, like, what am I good at? I think I'm really good at assessing talent. And I saw that guy right out of the gate. I'm like, this dude's legit. It's really cool. I think that the current pro open singles players are really good with their two-handed backhands and navigating their tennis right into their pickleball. Whereas I think some of the seniors who are good tennis players, maybe like myself and a few others, I don't think that we've quite navigated exactly how we used to play tennis at the pro and college level. Now at 50, navigating that same type of style is a little tougher. And I've not thought about that until you literally just asked me 2 seconds ago the question. But that is very poignant. I think that open pros seem, and then they're training a lot more, right? There's way more fruits to be had in these 22 and 23-year-olds that are, deciding, a satellite circuit where you're making zero money and it's like so impossible. And yet you see the pickleball world of 20, 22, 23-year-olds that these satellite guys realize, man, I could be right there. And if I bust my butt, I just think that the training overall is way more intense. Now, there are some pro seniors that train a lot. I'm not one of those. And so I would also say the open pros, because they're playing for so much more. I mean, my gosh, the amount of money and the contracts and this becoming a true full livelihood for them. I think the commitment to their trainers and just getting agents and things, that's very different. But as far as the game is concerned, at singles, they obviously the quickness and the power is a little more dynamic. In the men's doubles, I see that the hand speed's a little faster. I think the hand speed of seniors is actually ridiculously good. But like I played James Ignatowicz in split age, and I was really impressed with his power and how much he could generate and crush the ball. But at the same time, guys like me and Dane and Dave and Crandall and Derisi, I mean, we've beaten a lot of these higher level pros, and granted it might be rec play or whatnot, but trying, and I think the level of respect is there from the open pros. We just have been stuck in the same place, the same time, and so it seems like there's a little bit of angst when you have not enough courts and prize money. It seems like it's being slightly divided, where some of that dissension came. But in general, I think there's a huge respect. Whether I don't feel like anybody looks at me like, well, you're a 50-year-old that's kind of slowing down. I feel like, honestly, if I had been 25 and the sport had been like it is now, I think I'd be top 3 in the world in pickleball for sure. But I'm not upset about it. I'm happy for the 20-year-olds, and I feel like it's keeping me in shape to where I'm playing at a higher level fitness-wise than I ever thought I would be when I got into my 50s.
Yeah. So let's stay on senior pro pickleball. I'm curious about your views on the evolution of the sport over the next 10 years, where things are going, and a little bit more timely, we have now the NLP, the National Pickleball League, which is, you can call it, I don't know, I wouldn't say necessarily competitor, but it's another player in the league space. You have MLP and the Vibe League, these two major leagues kind of combining, and they have the NLP really serving the purpose of providing a platform for the senior pro players to showcase, their abilities in that same exciting format. So where do you see pickleball evolving as a whole? How do you see NLP playing into this? What's your role in NLP? Give me the whole laydown.
Yeah, and just so you know, it's NPL, National
NPL. Oh my God. There we go. I set that up. I just wanted you to correct me, of course.
It's probably the only thing I could correct you on because you seem relatively perfect. But anyway, the truth is, Aaron, that this was out of necessity. And we, some people, some senior pros, now champions players, because we don't really feel like we're seniors, we got together. We could see the tea leaves that were kind of saying, hey, we're being slightly devalued here, not by any significant movement, but just by circumstance. And creating our own independent thing became a very obvious reality. And we certainly respect everybody that's been in the pickleball world, the APP, the PPA, the MLP, the Vibe. Like, no, we're players with everybody. We're seniors, right? We're 15 over, and we know how to be good ambassadors for the sport and get along with rational people that are in it for the right reasons. So we didn't put our dates on top of any viable dates that compete with either the tours or the MLP or whatnot. In fact, I like a lot of people that are associated with MLP and PPA and APP. And I'm friends with a lot of these people. Look, I've been around a long time, the pickleball world. It's been fun to kind of see the evolution of some of these people that are involved. So that being said, the league format is something that we really wanted to capture. And we also wanted to have something that we knew long-term would have viability, because you never know, what type of sideshow the seniors would be relegated to. And we have had so much feedback from so many of our clients that we coach and so many people on the social media that have watched our live stream saying, you guys are awesome. We're 15 over. We love to watch you. You are way more in our wheelhouse of what we can try to aspire to be versus watching a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. And nothing against the open pros. It's just, look, 90% of the players play pickleball are our age and our demographics. So what I know now versus when we started MPL 2.5 months ago makes me feel tenfold like we did the right thing to kind of disassociate from open pros and get our own thing. And I love open pros. I was talking to Simone Hardim about this in Mesa. It's like, because I've known Simone for a long time. Her and I played mixed doubles in a tournament 8 years ago. And, we're both just ambassadors of the sport. Obviously, she's had an incredible career and she cares about us, and she's closer to my age than she is your age. So, she cares about what happens, to the pros that are our age. And we just said, hey, let's get something for independent, for the senior pros, for the champions players. And now it's like, it's taking off like wildfire. I don't know if you've seen the players that have signed, but we've signed almost every high level player that's a senior pro player.
So what's the format? When does it start? How many events? What are the events going to look like? How is it actually going to take place?
Yeah, so there's still a few kinks to be ironed out. Clearly, it's a team format. It's not going to be an MLP copycat, but there are a lot of similarities. We're going to have way more players than MLP has on their teams. We want to accommodate way more of the senior pros, but it will be doubles and mixed doubles. Right now, there's not a singles component to it, but that could change. And these city teams competing for a championship at the end of the season. So there's a regular season and a postseason. And there's going to be a draft, and we're excited. That draft, as of right now, is scheduled to be in February. We may be also having a preseason event in February. So obviously, there's the landscape of pro pickleball and senior pro pickleball right now is changing dramatically. And so if it looks like there's going to be less events or less money given to the champions level players, then we will come up with some more team events to accommodate a full season, albeit way less than we did last year.
Is it are there going to be owners buying in teams the same way there's with MLP, or is it more like the PPA or the EPP where there's just an owner, a governing body, a headquarters, and they just facilitate everything?
Yeah, no, we'll definitely have owners. I can tell you that, yeah, we've already got some irons in the fire there that will come to fruition. And so it'll definitely be owners of teams and draft. And it seems fairly similar to the MLP model in that capacity. There is a group that's overseeing this. And it's, our mantra is for pro seniors by pro seniors. And the truth is that everybody associated with this management group is a pro senior pickleball player. Obviously I'm involved. I will tell you that the other number one woman in the world, Beth Bellamy, is involved, and we've been working tirelessly for literally almost 3 months on calls, Zoom calls. Anyway, not looking for accolades. It's a lot of work, and I respect all the work that everybody that does these tours and teams and management. I respect everything they do because it is a lot.
Yep. I'm sure it's all going to pay off. I mean, the pickleball needle has been moving consistently, and it doesn't just happen from sitting back and watching. It's every single person, big or small, working hard to help push the needle forward and get things done. So, appreciate what you're doing, and we're excited to see, how it evolves. And when you have that huge LeBron James type name as a new owner, come let me share that with the world, with you. So great stuff there. A question about, going back to sort of playing, in terms of your doubles game, you've actually had a lot of success this past year, winning titles in pro pickleball with different partners. A lot of people have a very consistent set men's or women's doubles partner or a set mixed partner. There's a lot of value in having somebody that super well, subconsciously where they're going to be, where they're going to be at. But then again, when you have different partners, that allows you to kind of highlight different strengths in your game. You can try out different things, and you have been very successful winning titles. There's a bunch of titles you've won with many different players. I think you might have set a record or something this year. So can you talk a little bit about, for the players out there that play tournaments with different partners, how to succeed playing without the same partner every tournament?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I really believe that it's a huge diversion from what we're used to in tennis versus pickleball. Because in tennis, I kind of feel like I had one partner in the juniors, really one or two partners in college, and one partner. It wasn't, a three-ring circus with spin the wheel and who your partner is next. And obviously, my partnerships weren't just fly by night, decide 3 days before, but I like a lot of guys on the senior tour, and I respect a lot of their games. And I feel like my style and my personality matches up pretty well with most. And so therefore, playing with a bunch of different partners was kind of something I wanted to do, not because I'd get stale with somebody else, but just to see maybe who would be the best player for me. And, yes, I won with a lot of these different guys, but, it's not, even though, okay, I won, they won. Like, they played great. I mean, Paul Olin, like, I didn't necessarily think he and I were going to go win New Jersey. And he said it's the first APP tournament he's won. Like, he played great. I mean, I just was like so impressed. And so when I played with Dan Granat, like, he played great. Obviously, when I played with Weinbach and Gingrich and Crandall and Derisi, I think there was an expectation we're the top 2 seed and should get to maybe the gold or the silver, and good things happen there. But I'm just, look, I'm blessed to be around a lot of really good people. And I think when the game becomes more fun and less stressful about the W, I think that shines through. I had a good year last year, but this year it was like, okay, I know my full talents haven't been on display yet, and I'm getting better. I don't feel like I've reached my peak. I really feel like I can get better and better. I never practice, Aaron. I don't. I'm not proud to say it, but man, if I live in Florida or some of these other havens, Texas, and where these guys and women are training, I'd love that. But I never get that in Indiana. And there are some good players here. I'm not blaming anybody else, but I've got a wife and 3 teenagers, and it's like, okay, if I'm traveling 30 weekends out of the year, I can't just be like playing on my free time, because then I was stuck as a husband and dad,
I mean, you make up for the lack of practice with passion. I think, what I don't want to go unnoticed is that you said you love you love the aspect of playing, and you love it, and you disconnect with necessarily trying to win. And that's the hidden key, is I think disconnecting with the outcome. At least for myself, my father's a psychologist, and he's helped me get through some of my hurdles in playing competitive tennis and pickleball by the mantra of disconnect with the outcome. You playing the best when you're not thinking about winning. You're thinking about the now, every single point, getting better with every shot. So I think that's clearly something you used. And, I think that's something that a lot of people can probably absorb and help to better their games, is disconnecting with the outcome, playing to play, playing to improve, playing to enjoy.
Yeah. And I think that there are so many tournaments that everybody needs to remember that if they really want to get to their best mental state, that then know that you're going to play a bunch of tournaments where one tournament outcome doesn't define you, and it's why I'm really impressed with Ben and JW and Dylan Frazier. They just look so relaxed on the court. And I know that's not like absolutely God-given human nature. Yeah, there's some of that that's just inbred with maybe the personality. But I also, look, I was a pro tennis player and now I'm a pro senior. Like, I really respect their mental acumen. And some of that you have to work on to get to that mental space. So I'm proud of them for that. I'm getting closer there. I'm still not there yet, but God gave me a lot of ability, but it doesn't matter. God gave a lot of people ability that didn't ever win gold medals in pro tournaments. So if your mind's not connected as well as your physical, then you're in trouble. And I have notes on my phone where I'm literally before tournaments, this is what my focal points are. And it's never about the outcome and who I beat or what medal I got. Never about that.
So we've been talking about, you on the pro tour, your success, as a senior pro player. And I think there's an interesting distinction too, in terms of the window of opportunity between senior pros, and you can call them the open pros, the regular pros, where, you have guys that are 13, 14, 15 starting to play at the open pro level. They know they have a pretty wide window, 10, 15, 20 years, even someone in their early 20s, they have quite a bit of time where they can be at their athletic peak. Whereas senior pro, you hit 50, to some, the clock might start ticking right then and there. So can you talk a little bit about the window of opportunity for senior pro players and the level of urgency they need to have if they want to get to that top spot, which you have and you've achieved, though there are many others are probably wondering, how to take advantage of the time they have?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question and great recognition, because I'm 100% certain that my scope of reference for my success is way different being a pro senior pickleball player than it was when I was 20 years old thinking about my pro tennis career. When you're 20, you feel like you have infinite amount of time to work on your body, your mind, your brain, and you can do it 10, 15 years. But literally for pro seniors, especially if you play singles, doubles, and mixed. And the reality is we're a pro sport, and you want to try and make money in 3 ways versus 2 ways. That's important, but then you got to really think about the grind on your body and your mind. So, I really played this past year of 30 weekends, not thinking that I'm going to save and have so much for 2023 where I want to do it all over again. I kind of said, this is my year. These are my goals. I want to be number 1 on the chosen APP tour for pro seniors. And I wanted to be the show as a top player when you combine singles, doubles, and mix. I accomplished those goals, but it was physically and mentally a big grind. I never want to do that again. Okay. Because 30 weekends is a ton. And, wow. It's not, I had to go into therapy and hit ice baths all the time. But I do think the negotiation that a pro senior has in their brain for when they start. Look, I've seen a lot of guys come in that I knew from college tennis. They were darn good tennis players. And I saw them being pretty good pickleball players, but they'd lose in their first round or second round. And this is over and over and over again. There isn't one pickleball player that came in that was a hot shot All-American or pro tennis player that then won gold or silver. That doesn't happen. So the one thing I would encourage pro seniors who are a little newer that are good at this game is to have patience, have a timeline, have legitimate expectations. And it's not just going to be a sprint. It's going to be a marathon. So if you're doing this for 1 year to get to number one and you're just starting, no chance. You've got to play that longevity game. So on one hand, your body might break down in 5-6 years, but on the other hand, you're not going to reach your peak in a year. You've got to give it multiple years if you truly want to be a pro. And trust me, with the NPL we talked about, so many guys are messaging me that want to get drafted that I've never heard of. Like, wow, so you're a pro senior male and you want to get drafted. I never heard of you. I think it's cool. Like, it's what our sport is doing. It's lighting a fire under so many people. I love it, but I think expectations based on what you can input is super important.
Yeah, I mean, even at the senior pro level, you have to work. You have to have a plan. You don't just walk onto the court, and become Federer or Ben Johns. So I want to talk about, this is actually probably what I was most excited to talk about, especially someone I love branding and marketing and kind of how to create, things that really resonate with people. And you were able to do that. Not many open regular pros have quite the brand that you do, but you have, it's a nickname. Maybe it started as a nickname. It's definitely more than a nickname now. It's really an entire brand, and that's the brand of Ripskin. So you sell merch, you produce content, you teach, you do a whole bunch of other things. So it's kind of a two-part question, and we could really break these up. But I'd love to hear the evolution of the nickname, how this came to be, and then second, would love to hear some advice you have on other pro players, whether it's young pros, senior pros, how they can create and build their own brands for themselves.
Okay. Sometimes seniors don't remember the second part of the question when they start talking for a few minutes. So if you need to remind me what question number 2 is, feel free. I think I got this though.
Okay.
So number 1, Ripsken. First credit goes to my wife. She came up with it. She said, you should be Ripsken. She's a big supporter of mine. Obviously, you have to have a supportive spouse if you're going to go be playing as much as you are. And the Sken is the spelling of my last name. Witsken, so Skin, Sken, and then the Rip is rest in peace for Todd Witsken. And I knew that I wanted to honor him with my pro playing. And you touched on it earlier, Aaron, about I kind of had my pro ascent that cut short when I decided to go work for Todd and not play pro tennis. And so to have that opportunity to fulfill that dream and what I felt confident about was my abilities to show that. I feel very fortunate for that, but the brand of Ripskin is really about Todd Witsken, who's in heaven, who was the number 1 player in the world in tennis. Everybody looked up to him. I mean, he beat Jimmy Connors, he beat John McEnroe, he played Agassi and Sampras. Number 1 in the world in doubles. It's not easy to get to that. And the bald eagle on my shirt represents his last trip. We all went out to Yellowstone, his brothers and a couple of his close friends, and while we were doing all these activities, the kayaking and the whitewater rafting and the horseback riding and hiking, a bald eagle was following us around everywhere. So whenever I see an eagle, I think of Todd Witsken, bald eagle, that is. And the irony is I live in Zionsville, Indiana, which Zionsville is home of the Eagles. And Todd lived in 20 acres in Zionsville. And so, I mean, honestly, I live on acreage too. And I think I didn't consciously think, I'm going to buy land because Todd did and live in Zionsville because Todd did. But I think that's probably what happened subconsciously. So when I win matches, when I have interviews, I don't think about, what did I do for me? I think, wow, Todd will be proud because he was the Mac Daddy of everything. And if I'm half the man that he was in his short 34 years, I'll be proud of that. So that's kind of the evolution of Ripskin. And then to your second point about building the brand, I wasn't turning this Ripskin into, I want to be a brand that everybody recognizes so I can get attention. It was more just when it becomes from the heart and spiritual, I think it's so much more passionate. And I think I had the last term director, Ryan Treffry. He's like, Rick, can I have one of those shirts? I'm like, well, I don't have any extras, but I'll definitely give you one. And, I think Paul, and it's like, hey, you give me one of those shirts, I'll wear it. Like, that's really cool that people care enough, even though they didn't really know Todd, that they see that I live a very passionate life because of that. Because look, he died in 1998. That's a long time ago, but I feel like it was yesterday. And so the brand is easier to cultivate when you have that. I know I saw I think a podcast about with Tyson, and he was talking about his dad and how his dad kind of helped him like hit shots and stuff. And I know what he's talking about. I feel like sometimes some shots I hit are like, how'd that happen? Like that had to be something divine, right? So, but I do think building a brand for these younger pros is wise to distinguish themselves. And I'm really proud of being one of the few senior pros that have their own brand, that because I really value all of us. In 50, 51, it's not over the hill. We still got game, like you said, still beat 99% of the people. And I like being a representative of our people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I had no idea about the true backstory of Ripskin. I actually thought it was because you ripped the ball, and it was just kind of a cool, putting two words together. But I think it's a really touching story. And I think for you it was Todd. For probably everybody, we probably all have something, whether it's somebody or something. And I think that's a really important takeaway, is that if you could take something passionate, whether it's from your family or from your past or something that motivates you, and tie it to a brand you want to build, or you wanting to be a successful athlete, or why you go into work every day. I think that's kind of what a big reason of why people can be successful at what they do, because of the passion, but because they have a greater purpose. And I think it's a really great story. Appreciate you sharing it.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to Paddletech for putting the Ripsken logo on my Bantam XL. That was really nice of them to do that. And they don't complain when I wear a Ripsken shirt versus a Paddletech shirt, and even though I'm a sponsored athlete by them. So I really want to give Curtis and company, Paddletech, a shout out for not making me feel uncomfortable because I'm wearing something that's passionate about my family.
Yeah, absolutely. Two quick questions to kind of close things off. You mentioned earlier Ben Shelton. Ben Shelton, he's a nephew of yours, quite the tennis player. I believe he's currently 96 in the world in singles. Did some big things at the US Open this past year, and he's really one of the up-and-coming names in American tennis. So two questions. One, how involved are you on the coaching side with Ben? And then also, have you tried converting him to pickleball yet?
So those are two interesting questions. And the answer is no, I'm not involved in coaching him whatsoever. It's my sister's son. Her husband played professional tennis. He's the men's Florida tennis coach, and he's Ben's coach, and he's a bright guy. So they don't need me in that capacity. I'm a supportive uncle. His middle name is Todd, named after my brother, which is really cool. A lot of people don't realize that. I see the talent that he got, a blend of the Shelton and Witsken family. It's really cool to see, and he has no fear. When I saw that in him as a 14-year-old, I said, this kid is absolutely going to be top 100 of the world. He absolutely has stayed at our house, coached on my junior clinics out here in Zionsville. In fact, I even had him coach a pickleball clinic last summer, even though I really had never played pickleball, because I needed that. We had 40 people in my clinic, and like, man, I need your help. And so him and his sister, a lot of people don't know, his sister Emma plays for the University of Florida too. She's a very good tennis player too. So they've helped out with pickleball. Their mom is my sister, and she loves pickleball. She's a 4-5 and getting better by the day. So she's way into pickleball, and she's a huge supporter of mine, obviously, being my sister. So super proud of Ben. Him beating Casper Ruud in Cincinnati, to me, was his biggest highlight as a pro. I'm sure he'd say that too. But winning the NCAAs in singles, and then just winning 3 challengers in a row, like, that's insane. Nobody's done that at his age. He's the first male ever to win 3 challengers in a row at the age of 20. So he's well on his way. He's got his contracts. He's locked in. I think he's got his head on straight. He loves God. A good Christian family, and I just think that'll keep him grounded. And I'll be 100% shocked if he doesn't get to top 50, barring an injury or something like that.
Absolutely. Best of luck to him. I mean, it'll be exciting to watch. Last question to kind of close things off. This is a slam dunk question. Why do you love pickleball?
It's changed. I liked pickleball because it gave me another competitive outlet. That was initially, but it's changed now to what I've seen it do for the masses of people, for what I've seen it do to cancer patients, what I've seen it do to obese or overweight people that had no motivation to get in shape. people that could not lift their arm above their shoulder. That's my passion now, is that this game is saving lives like none other in the healthiest of ways. So that sounds dramatic, but when you are on the front line of a pickleball programming like I am in Indianapolis here, I've got a great friend of mine, Kelly Bodner, who is literally building her and her husband are building a $6 million facility called Pickle on Penn, right down the street from me, because she loves the game. It's not, oh, I need to make so much money on this. This game is life altering. And that's fantastic. Home of Ripskin. I'm all for putting my brand all over that, because she's the right person with the right intentions. And, people typically in the pickleball world have had great intentions. And I'll close you with this. We've seen acrimonious relations between tours and certain realms of pickleball. Let's all stay in the togetherness mode and work together for the greater good, because the sport deserves that. You and I, Aaron, have enjoyed it. I'm really super happy to know that you were Ben's roommate. I did not know that.
Not roommates, just friends, just good friends.
Good friends, whatever. I'm super happy that he cared enough about you to get you involved, and I really respect what Ben's done for the sport. And I just think if we all stick together and support each other, this sport will have no determining end.
Absolutely. And then I know I said that was the last question, but there's one more thing I got to ask you. It's a little bit of a selfish question, because this is almost for me something that I really want to learn from you and take away. And I hope it'll have an effect on other people as well. This is something I ask to kind of entrepreneurs I speak to, founders, different people in the business world that I meet, that I look to kind of take guidance from. So, you're a pro player, you're running tennis and pickleball, presumably, I guess both still pickleball and tennis programs. You're doing NPL, you have sponsors, you have multiple, at least 3, probably many more, very time consuming, mentally and physically, time consuming ventures going on in your life. I'm obviously much younger and in a different place, but same thing. I'm playing pickleball all the time. I have academies. We have the Pickleball Clinic, which is an online media community, media platform. How do you do it? It seems like you're doing everything successfully. So how are you able to do so many things successfully at the same time? And you don't look to be so stressed out. You seem to be enjoying life. You have a wife and kids too. I don't even have that, and I'm stressed. So
that's a great thought. Well, and you did touch on this earlier about your uncle and having that memory, which is so important to you, and obviously my brother, so important to me. So life can't be too serious and too intense and too negative when we know we only have a finite amount of time on this earth to do things that we love. And then if we love it and we're passionate about it, we'll do it well. But I've had great people come into my world. When I think of pickleball, I think of Cheryl and Paul McKinney from Anderson, Indiana, who have been amazing in getting thousands of people so involved in pickleball. And they're now my best friends with my wife. They're our best couple friends. Don Helford from Indianapolis. I didn't know him from Adam. He called me. He's like, Rick, I'm a USAPA ambassador from Indy. If you want to meet, great. If not, I understand. I'm like, heck yes. I met with him, and within an hour, we're like, oh my gosh, I really like this guy. He's got great intentions. He's semi-retired and all the right things about pickleball. Now he and I help run the Midwest Pickleball Club, which has all the right intentions to deliver back to the game. So to answer your question, having other good people in your life is super important. I don't know that I could have gotten to here at your age, because money and financial security was super important to me then. Now I don't care. I've got enough money to be happy. I literally told this to my son yesterday. I said, Colin, and he's an 8th grader and doesn't get life yet. But I said, I'm at a place where I'm so happy. There's nothing else I want or need. And I really hope you can get there, because I see a lot of people that are unhappy that have way more than me. And I'm saying that genuinely. I don't envy them or jealous of them. I'm happy for people that are successful. But when you get to a place where you're happy and content, I think then I'm a huge visionary, right? That's what I've been my whole life. And I think then it allows your juices to flow. It's just like we're talking about as a competitor here, Aaron. When you, as a competitor, don't focus on the win and the loss, but you focus on the process, man, your game gets a lot better.
Right. Absolutely. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on. This has been a really great talk. And I mean, we just talked about so many different things I think a lot of people could take away from. So, best of luck in the success of all your different ventures, especially you and the tour, the Ripsken brand, everything else is going on. So this has been a pleasure. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you, Airfeed, for being a great sponsor, because those inserts are the best, and they keep a big dude like me on my feet, vivacious every day. So I love your show, love pickleball, love God. All is good, man. Have a great holiday.